I will admit, 2024 has cemented itself as one of the most exciting and eventful years we have seen in a long time. Whether it was the amount of albums I released, the huge amount of success that they brought, or creating by far the most impactful event this year. I kid you not, I don't think there was any year that I've been fully invested to. This year was a big deal as it not only helped me create a music taste of past albums, but gave me a look at some of this year's standouts. So today, I'm going to be ranking every 2024 album that I have listened to from worst to best. Let's keep in mind some guidelines. I'm dividing this video in sections based on the different scores I give them. There will be albums I consider between 0 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, and eventually 10 with the respective scores next to them. I'm only counting the ones I have listened to myself and not every single project this year, because we would be here for a while. Stuff that I include are studio LPs, self-release mixtapes, extended plays, double albums, soundtracks, and a few miscellaneous like B-side releases. Deluxe re-releases and remix packs won't be included due to the fact that they are the exact same thing at its core. So stuff like Brad would count, but the deluxe and remix versions wouldn't. And double albums will also count as long as the album itself is meant to be in two separate parts and was released at a different time. So stuff like the Insano duology would count, but once again, deluxe versions wouldn't. If you feel like there was an album here that I've listened to despite how much I've listened to, feel free to let me know in the comments. I check all of my comments and I might even take your suggestions. Keep in mind that these are initial thoughts from when I first listened to these projects, so opinions might change over time. Now, we get into the list. Starting at dead last, we have Project YVL. Sure, Cardi may have some sort of hype for his I Am Music rollout, but when you completely use AI to make something like this, it just makes you more pathetic. I don't really have any words at all. It just proves that Cardi fans are the corniest and obnoxious fan base out there. Thankfully, this is the only use of AI that isn't just copy and paste. BAFK. Recent standards have gotten so low that stuff like this is talked about more. What does this bring? What makes Netsman so special apart from everyone else? It's just annoying at this point. Popular Monster. This is what happens when you drink an entire Walmart stock of Monster energy drinks. All I got was complaining, a bad ego, and being edgy at an excessive amount. I'm your guilty pleasure. Guilty pleasure. Who asked for Georgia Stewart to return out of all people? No one. She's like 21 years old, and she is somehow more childish than she was during her time with Nickelodeon. And her music videos didn't help her case. Young Genius. If you don't know who Little Mambo is, don't even bother. It's not worth your time in any regards. It's just a white kid rapping over drill beats. That's it. Valedictorian. Once again, a white kid that just doesn't take rap seriously and only cares about virality. I'm pretty sure his fans act the exact same way. And you know what? Maybe Tyler the Creator was right after calling him out. Maybe it wasn't targeted to him specifically, but that's what the public took it as. I even tried to listen to his debut album this year, Goodbye Horses, but it had no improvements at all, so I didn't even bother. Say So says, the album was kinda going good at the beginning, but it all came crashing down by the time I finished this. It left me feeling shocked more than anything. It's just the way that the vocals sounded on top of the basic beats. It's shocking how some people consider this good in any regards. Y2K. Even if Ice Spice was popping off back then, I didn't even bother at all and was hoping her career would fall off. And I was right the moment the debut album was released. The lines are horrible, and not even Travis Scott couldn't make this even better. It was a complete nonsense. It only proves that Ice Spice cannot rap. Love Lasts Forever. I really don't know what Destroy Lonely is doing right now. I thought that his No Stylist mixtape was decent, but this and If Looks Could Kill have to be some of the worst material I've ever heard. But this album isn't an all-of-age album, but it's still horrible. It almost sounds like he's drunk most of the time. It's not even funny, it's just bad. In Sexy We Trust. All of this and still no studio album? Sexy Red is one of those artists recently that I just question why they even blow up. Not even Drake made it better, and Instead, he made it worse with his verse on You My Everything. He lost the beef so hard that he even had to use the BBL Drizzy instrumental. It's just embarrassing. Life's a gamble. How can you get Kanye West to revive your career, only for it to be right back where you started? The production makes no sense. Rich the Kid sounds like he's whining most of the time, and the features range from confusing to terrible. It's the exact same thing he was once back then, except now you have Kanye, which isn't that much to write home about. Eternal Take 2. It pains me to say that Uzi made a bad album. Why was this made? I genuinely was excited for it since I liked the first one, but I guess I wasn't surprised since the only lead single we got was literally 30 seconds, and the rollout was short in general. So yeah, by far the most disappointing album of 2024. Oops, Vultures 2. I really did not want this to be released. Whenever there was a date that was supposed to be released, it never did, and I was happy about it. But it didn't last long. And then the nitrous and AI accusations came out, and it all makes sense. At least we got Uno Miles. Guess I lost my life again. Genre Sad Boy. What happens when you put MGK and Trippie Redd in the same room? They make something like this. It's a stab in the face to anyone that actually has these problems. Also, why is Jid here? It makes no sense. You Made Me a Star. It's so painfully obvious that Forbats is an industry plan, and his image is so weird. He looks like someone from the streets with a shiesty mask, but makes R&B. It's only used for TikTok likes and that's it, which is obviously a bad thing. The death of Slim Shady, Coup de Grace. Eminem returns to his Slim Shady persona. It makes it worse. He labeled it as a concept album. It said that the story wouldn't make sense if the songs were not in order. That's pretty much how concept albums are, and the story is just not worth it. It's narrated as Eminem trying to find ways to kill Slim Shady, and it's so over the top. It's like his first two albums, but worse. Not a fan at all. Mario and Luigi. The two most unserious rappers team up to make a collab album, and I've yet to understand why anyone actually listens to them in the first place. It's like a stand-up comedy show, but when the audience throws tomatoes at them, that is more entertaining. One of One. It's weird I pretty much know what Gunna is capable of, but he just sounds so unenthusiastic. The production is mid at best, and it never changes at all. I almost fell asleep listening to this, but I eventually got myself together. That's how boring this is. 143. Oh man, the hypocrisy. Katie's tried to say that women can be powerful or something, but all that this album did was make them feel bad in the process. And out of all the people you could have chosen to be featured, you chose 21 Savage, Jid, and Doechii? I'm so confused. Timeless. Meghan Trainor is an artist I feel like has no idea what she's trying to say. It's all just talking about how much of a good wife she is or what goes around someone's husband, and the random rap inclusions in the production just make this album even more corporate, and not the good kind. Last Lap. Let's be fair, I definitely like this older albums way more. Stuff like Pray for Love, Beautiful Mind, and even this PTSD mixtape are pretty solid what they are. But this album just makes me wish he actually did something different. Instead we get a boring nothing album with some of the worst mixing and production styles I've ever heard. And his voice doesn't even match the production's tone at all. The engineer is probably on the list somewhere. We Still Don't Trust You. Future's been popping off this year due to him starting the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef, but this sequel is honestly not that good. I like the production for Metro, don't get me wrong, but Future definitely made this album worse. He just doesn't know how to fit in the R&B sound that much, and he can't really make anything substantial with the hour and 22-minute duration. Kinda bummed out, but not really surprised. Those are the albums I consider to be 0 to 3 out of 10. Some of my least favorites of the year. Now we would go into albums in between 4 to 6. Mac and Cheese 5. Kinda funny how many different versions were released in order to boost sales. only for it to sell 60k copies. Just an inconsistent mess with multiple different styles that ended up making it as incohesive as possible. The features are also really random, but then again, it's French Montana. The party never ends. Nice try, Grade A, but this party sucked. There were so many things I don't like about this album. Like, why is the mixing in some songs so bad? Why were some songs in here to begin with? And why did Murakami make this cover art? I like his work as he is very talented, but this one isn't one of them. Also, could we take the fact that Fortnite did a better job at his legacy than his own label? And then Empty Out Your Pockets was added in a reissue after Fortnite put the song in the game. Nice try, Epic Games. Time to take these niggas to school, LeBron James. All Is Yellow. This shouldn't be a no-brainer for Cole Bennett. Lyrical Lemonade made a huge rise when it came out due to bringing a lot of good upcoming rappers. And now we have an album dedicated to that. And what we got is an album that is half-baked, inconsistent, and some parts being really bad. It's not like the entire album didn't have any good songs, like Doomsday, where Juice and Cordae absolutely kill it with their verses. I just wish the album had a lot more polishing, as it could have been good. CXOXO. Camila Cabello is honestly a really good singer, but this whole hyperpop rebrand is not even worth it. Although I'm not entirely upset by this, it just left me more and more questions than anything. Kinda glad everyone forgot about it when it came out. The Tortured Poets Department. This is where Taylor decided that, hey, I can make more money. If I'm not mistaken, there are at least 22 different versions, excluding the Anthology version. All of that just to release a boring and stale album with some of her worst songwriting to date. I like some of Taylor's projects, and I would consider Folklore to be her best album, but this one is not it at all. Insano Nitro Mega. Apparently Cudi made a double album this year, and they all feel so similar to each other, but in this case, it's not a good thing. It's so inconsistent and created by far his worst song of all time with Willis. I really want Cudi to make good music again, because even though this feels like a return to form, there's really not a lot to say about this, even for Cudi standards. But then again, it was bound to happen due to his recent catalog. Insano. The first volume I did like slightly better, but most of my complaints are still present in this version. Only this time it's a bit more consistent, though it isn't anything to write home about. I've been up all night, time to hit the Player's Room. This is a local EP that a friend gave me, and I'm not gonna talk about it that much. It's sad for what it is. Used to shop at Aldi. Vultures 1. I thought that we would get some good Kanye stuff ever since Donda, but it's just not it. It's far more tolerable than the second volume, obviously, but there is really nothing to say about. Ty Dolla $ign definitely carried, unsurprisingly, and Burn is by far the best song on the project. He don't wanna be saved, don't save him. E-Dang, E-Dang. I do like some Glorilla. This mixtape only does half of its job correctly. While I do like a lot of her energy and some hard-hitting bars, half of the tracklist seems to be either poor production or the features. Lifestyle. Yeat is back with the second album this year, and personally, it's not for me. I think the rage elements overstay its welcome in this project specifically, and there really was no real hook that enhances the experience. But it's one of those albums where I can see the appeal, but I'm not really digging anything personally. While those albums range from being confusing to somewhat serviceable, we are looking into albums that have a lot more redeeming qualities as we move forward. It was just goodbye. The Tortured Poets Department, The Anthology. I had to do research to figure out that this is a double album 2 hours after the first edition's release. Why was it like that? I don't know, but it's easily better. It feels like a second Folklore, but it's less substantial. I will always prefer this over the bass version. The Legacy Project. Don't ask me how I found this album because I went down a crazy rabbit hole. But this kid is doing his thing and it's surprisingly good. Not much else to say, but my personal experience on the night I found this was crazy. Enough said. Level 5 P2. I have heard the first part before, and this one showcases more of BK the Ruler's skills. Her flow and style is really unique, and I'm still hoping she can take her career forward. but this will suffice. Might delete later. Hear me out. This mixtape is decent at best, but I could definitely understand the criticism. We were waiting for Cole's response after he got dissed by Kendrick on Like That, but the actual diss in this mixtape was not it at all. He even apologized for making that diss in the first place and removed it on all platforms. But this mixtape is still decent, even if in some cases it feels a bit rushed. Lungu Boy. Afrobeats can be really fun and bring out a lot of energy when produced correctly. That's not to say this album is bad in any way. By far the most significant moment is Active with Travis Scott, surprisingly. But that's it, to be honest.
Clean, none of my bitches is mean.
Daryl. Even if I'm not fully invested in ASAP Ferg, I know he could do much better than this. It's inconsistent, the intro track is awful, and overall feels disconnected even with the amount of people in this project. But it really isn't that bad, just not that ideal. Rosie. Pretty cool how a Blackpink member manages to make music in a completely different sound that's apart from their roots. Sounds like an early Taylor Swift album, which I'm all for it. It definitely needs more uniqueness to fully make it worth more of a listen. VIP. Its southern style adds a lot to its eerie atmosphere and unique production. Played Boy Zay's voice is going to take some time to get used to. Ed Willems is also included despite being on Kingdom Mysterious Style Volume 2. Cool how Denzel was able to give him support. Fallenium. A TV Go collab album was not on my bingo card this year, but I'm kinda conflicted on this. TV Girl only seems to do the production, which is fine, but they are a solo band that has made a few albums before. Why weren't there any vocals from them? I don't know, but George Clinton does a good job of his energy.
Bitch, I'm from Memphis, what you know about me?
Glorious. A better project than her mixtape. Glovera brings in so much energy to Memphis hip-hop, and all the features manage to make good verses. Outside of Boss Mandelo, it can get a bit repetitive from time to time, but it's just a fun debut album. Coming Out Party. Imagine Future making party-focused music, but make it more entertaining. That's JP for you, and he does a good job lining up the mood really well. Megan. Not only do we get some hard-hitting bars from Megan, but we got a deluxe edition on top of it with the exact same qualities. She does not mess around, and that's what I like about her work. And his is a lethal track and perfect introduction to the album. Mixtape Pluto. The middle ground of quality that Future has been putting out this year. It's honestly cool that we even got a new mixtape since his last one in 6 years. Well, okay, Plutoski is objectively trash, but the rest of the tracklist is cool.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Megan Act 2. I'm only including this because it's essentially a B-side and it's meant to be a separate thing, but treated like a deluxe. I enjoyed this over the first act due to Megan being more confident and more hungry. She is popping off in this, and I'm all for it. A Very LaFay Christmas, the Santa Baby edition. These covers managed to bring in a lot of Christmas joy, which is expected because LaFay is one of my favorite artists of all time, so it's a cool little treat, even if it's small. 47. A very good bedroom pop EP. Slow, chill, and atmospheric. It checks all the boxes that I need. A Very 1999 Christmas. No one expected Jay Schlatt of all people to make a Christmas album. When listening to this, I was blown away. It's like Frank Sinatra, but without the AI. That's how good his voice is. One of, if not the most surprising releases I have seen. Life Sucks. I could see why this is a mixed bag, but I was kinda expecting it because Powers Pleasant is a producer. But we got good inclusions like Denzel Curry, DC Dadan, Drug Kenji, and many others.
I think it's time for the show.
Icon. It's a guilty pleasure, nothing else. Sweet Boy. This mixtape makes me feel cozy, really appreciating all that is featured. The only thing I want is for the performances to be a bit more energetic. Not that it's bad, but I can overstay its welcome without changing up some stuff. Bathtub Camping Goes Outdoors. It's one of those indie bands where they have the weirdest name I could think of. But the music is pretty cool. It's just a name. Like, why did they choose this? I don't understand. Maybe a Nirvana. It's weird how I'm putting a Smino album this low due to his impressive catalog, but the album he delivered, while being good in typical Smino fashion, fails to try to have as much memorability as his previous work. It's not the end of the world, but it's kinda weird that this was released. Came and Left. One of the most calming and really solid R&B albums I've listened to in a while, even if it's a bit too short. Coyote. I know Tommy Mitchell got a lot of backlash due to his ego and his insane virality due to his song Million Dollar Baby, but the album's actually pretty good. I'm serious. The entire album proves that he could do a lot of stuff correctly due to his experience, but I don't think anyone will talk about him due to his recent scrutiny. Missionary. A sequel to one of the greatest West Coast G-Funk albums, Snoop was able to recapture the magic it once had. Even if it wasn't one-to-one, this is some of his best recent material. Although due to his modern catalog, it doesn't surprise me. The only questionable thing is just Jelly Roll's appearance. Why? Short and sweet. Props to Sabrina for going away from her Disney Channel roots and making something that I didn't really expect to be good. And the concerts she's been hosting for her recent tour are crazy. Band of Stone and A New World. The final album under Childish Gambino. And it's an interesting send-off. I'm not trying to dethrone anything about this album, but it doesn't feel like a proper send-off to one of the most respected figures in the rap industry. But what's in here is good enough. Also, he said in the movie by the same name will be coming soon, but it has yet to be released at the time of me making this video. Michael and the Mighty Midnight Revival. Songs for Sinners and Saints. I'm just gonna call this Songs for Sinners and Saints, but anyways, Killer Mike is back with a brand new album after winning Best Rap Album 2024. And can I say, it was well deserved. We do get new tracks despite it only being 10 songs long. While it isn't bad, there are some select remix tracks from his previous album, Michael. His performance is still there and makes me appreciate what he's able to do for something like this. New World Depression. The Memphis and Funk's music styles go together really well. Really the only downside is just the subject matter, as you can get over the top sometimes. But man, it must feel cool to just drive really fast while listening to this. Still Praying. Never thought I would imagine Westside Gunn and DJ Drama to make a collab mixtape. But man, it just made me smile due to how crazy they can act sometimes. These two are perfect for each other, and they do go off, but it can feel a bit unbalanced. The songs go hard though, outside of that one random trap song. Gunn isn't meant for this kind of production, so why it's included? I don't know. Cold Visions. Yes, I do listen to Blade, and this album is a good direction to the Rage sound. While it isn't perfect, as there are points that could be better like his energy to fit the tone, it obviously leads more to the good side of Rage, the kind I can actually listen to. Why Suffer For Us? Eric DOA is another artist I have discovered this year that I just want more of. This EP basically proved my need for more Eric, but thankfully he released another project this year. More on that later. War Ready. I like how Richard Mille is able to use his low voice to match perfectly with the production style he's going for. And let me tell you, he goes hard on the beats. Really satisfied. I5, U5, We5. This is some of Homicide Gang's best work, with them actually trying to improve on a bunch of things. Whether it be the beats that they use, and how they can go hard on each verse. And they are by far the better people signed to Cardi's label. Enough said. Angel Eyes. I know for a fact that Kenny Mason is really talented with his rapping. He is really versatile in this project, and it shows due to how many styles are present. And the skits make the narrative more interesting. Literally no complaints. Ultra 85. By far the most surprising release of this year. Sure, Logic has been under a lot of backlash and scrutiny, but this album proved that Logic is ready to wipe the floor. It's magical, inspiring, fun. Literally, what else is there to say? Can't believe what I'm about to say, but I'm ready for his next project now he's finally on the right track. We Don't Trust You. I can make an entire video for this basically saving hip hop. It not only spawned one of the biggest events this year, but it forever changed what the hip hop scene would turn out to be in the future. But that's only for Like That. But the album itself is still good with a bunch of underrated cunts. But besides that, Like That is the perfect diss track on the album. Hearthstone Psycho. The concept of this album is really cool. Being themed around the hardcore breaking style sounds so cool, but it's only present in the first quarter. The album is still good, but it would have been so much better if the style was present throughout the entire album. 11th Dimension. Nothing makes me happier than seeing Ski Mask release a new album, and it's by far my favorite from him. It's extremely energetic in a good way. The bars of production go hard. I was excited when this was released, but also love seeing Ski actually back, hoping for the future for his career because this is a really good stepping stone. Wicked the soundtrack. I saw this in theaters, so I won't summarize the story, but I will say that this movie adaptation does a good job at not only bringing in the charm of the Broadway original, but making it more fitting for theaters. 2024. Remember the kid from the Legacy Project? Well, he released his second album this year, and it's much better. He really knows how to make good music with his voice, despite being so young. Keep the Change. One of my friend groups really like Kill Bill and Rav, and they are aware of how many collab albums they released together. This one I've grown more over time due to its eerie atmosphere and that one Hatsune Miku song. That song shocked me in a good way. No Hands. The modern Beastie Boys, but way more invested into their craft. It was just dumb fun, and that's what I really wanted to do. I can play any song of this album and will always appreciate the crazy energy. Clancy. I'm getting weird nostalgia just for knowing that this is a 21 Pilots album, and knowing how many songs I've heard from them years ago kinda goes full circle. I like how they're able to be unique and make something worth listening to. This Is How Tomorrow Moves. Her voice is really good for this album, and it kinda makes me feel encouraged in some way. It just comes down to the instruments and how it progresses for the entire runtime. Neon Pill. The atmosphere is just something else. It makes me feel dizzy, but in a good way. Any instruments fit well with its style. Plan A. Easily Tega's best material. I'm so glad he's able to have always worked to make this album. These songs are so catchy, and it just makes me happy. Brings me back to the good SoundCloud era where everyone was really happy. DOA. The other era project that was released this year. And it's really cool. I love when most underground artists are able to be so versatile and experiment insanely well. It feels like they're actually trying something different. Smile. It's exactly what the title suggests. The entire sound is really vibrant and surprisingly energetic. Props to Porter Robinson. Eternal Sunshine. The vocals and different fusions of pop production are pretty neat. It's what you expect from a good Ariana album. Bad Cameo. Both James Blake and Lil Yachty surprisingly do a good job of making a really good and out of this world collab album. I was expecting performances like this from James Blake, but Yachty still shocks me even after Let's Start Here. The Crossroads. From my experience, Cordae seems to take a different approach by taking a lot of good elements of hip hop and mixes it really well with his good lyrics and narration. And we finally got older Kanye back. That's a big W. My Wife. The most underrated album I've listened to in a while. The mix of hyperpop and rap works well along with Horb's high-pitched voice, which might sound drying at first, but it's so cool. Almighty Soul 2. Sequel to his 2013 mixtape, it gets straight to the point. He goes crazy and doesn't waste a single second in this project. I will admit it can sometimes overstay its welcome due to its sheer length, but Chief Keef manages to keep it entertaining as much as he can. 2093. As much as I didn't enjoy Lifestyle, This album, however, has some of his best work to date, completely changing his sound to include the most atmospheric and out of this world experience from someone like Yeat. And the rapping is really good on top of that. Back in Action 4.0, my favorite in the Back in Action series. Midwest is able to cook up some of the best Rage produced tracks I have ever heard. Rage will always be a 50-50 for me, meaning it can go good or bad. Boy, the album might have my favorite intro track of all time. I was entirely speechless, and the later tracks did not disappoint. And finding out that everything is made by just one person made me gain a lot of respect for 2 Hollis. Aftermath. With the amount of success that Sito Rio has gained for his song Before the Morning, it makes me so proud of him. But please, listen to this as well as his previous album Mop Water. He has a lot more quality than you would think. Take Care. Big X goes absolutely nuts over this project. The old school sampling to his hard-hitting flows only wishes he would get much more attention currently. He raps and raps only, and that shtick is going to stay with him for a long time. Texas Technician. I prefer that Mexican OT a bit more than Big X, but what I say for him still applies to OT. They both have insanely similar qualities that I don't mind if you pick one over the other. I just like his flow and representation a bit more, but he is still really tough. American Dream. A necessary evolution to 21 Savage. We already experienced the same style for I Am Over I Was, but this album takes it to a whole nother level. The way he raps to a lot of the upbeat and sometimes eerie instrumentals proves that he has come a long way. Samurai. The fact that Lupe Fiasco has not only been in the game for nearly 2 decades and is still able to provide high quality music is just insane. And it's his shortest in his discography, clocking at only 30 minutes. It's one of his more accessible projects, but it's still amazing in typical Lupe fashion.
From his wife.
Alligator Bites Never Heal. I didn't know this was nominated for the Grammys, but after listening to this, I totally understand why. Some of the best modern boom bap style material I've heard. And Dolce has been popping off recently as well. Looking forward to what she puts out in the future and that her style never fades away. Rebirth. Out of all the recent artists I have discovered, DC the Don managed to be my personal favorite. His unique voice and the way he manages the production is super cool. Insane versatility and really cool performance on top of it. I can see myself becoming more and more of a fan of him in the future. He's just that good. And A Mind for Our Bodies. Bone-chilling atmosphere with the weirdest mixing I've heard, but enhances the experience because Gara the Arsonist manages to make it work insanely well. It felt like I was transported to another planet, which in turn creates some of the best atmosphere I've ever heard. GNX. No one expected Kendrick to drop because it was a complete surprise. And due to him winning the Drake beef, everyone went crazy. And his album is cool, representing the many elements of West Coast hip hop and its culture, and even bringing in local rappers, which is really solid. And the bars he says only proves that everyone is afraid of Kendrick Lamar after the beef. And I absolutely love it. King of the Mischievous South Volume 2. The official sequel to his mixtape of the same name. While Denzel Curry brings in elements of the Southern hip hop sound, he makes it fully modern but still having appreciation to its roots. And his rapping is some of the best performances I have heard this year. We have reached the point of the video where from here on out, these upcoming albums happen to be some of my favorites from this time, and even pointing out my top 10. How to Build an Ocean. Instructions. It taught me a ton of things. How to build an ocean properly, and enjoying almost everything. The indie pop rock style goes crazy with the charismatic energy. Even though they are British and kind of having a whack name, it's a blast. Found Heaven. Never would I thought that the sound would fully replicate the 80s to 90s era music. I thought this was a much older album released at that time period, but it's a much older album, and it's mesmerizing. Charm. The most calming, soothing, and coziest pop jazz album I have heard. It makes me feel warm inside and only leaves a big smile on my face. Good job, Clara. Exodo. Bessel Bloomer strikes again with this album, and the tracklist is interesting. This one features his typical songs, but this too has songs ranging from trap and reggaeton. An interesting layout, but it's all amazing.
Yeah, 360 when you're
Brat. Taking over the world by storm when this was released. There were billboards, video edits, and so much positive reception which boosted it even more. So glad to see Charli XCX get the amount of recognition she deserves.
that's my floor.
Imaginal Disc. My favorite synth-pop record with its gorgeous production and stunning vocals. The cover proves that you get what you expect just from looking at it. It is so worth your time. Submarine. It generally feels like you are underwater. Ranging from either soft to upbeat makes it so memorable. Orquídeas. My favorite Latin album of the year. I have gotten used to Kali Uchis and her music, and this ended up being my second favorite album for her, right behind Isolation. The use of different Latin genres is so beautiful and feels like a good representation of its culture. Micah. The dude from TikTok who makes music. Immediately, it sounds like a bad idea due to many failures in the past, but this album blew away any expectations possible. He's really versatile, but still manages to find a unique twist to make it his own. Please listen to this if you can, it will leave you in complete shock. Hit Me Hard and Soft. Billie manages to evolve her career even further than ever before. I am absolutely proud of this album, partly because of her impressive evolution of not only a songwriter, but her vocals as well. I have never seen Billie be so expressive in the past, and this album is a perfect example of that, a defining album of the 2020s. Blue Lips. The most mature I have seen with Schoolboy Q, reflecting on his journey as a person and pointing out a lot of struggles that he faced throughout his life. He makes it an entertaining experience. He truly thought of the ins and outs and crafted some of his best material to date. I Lay Down My Life For You. One of the first JPEG Mafia albums I have listened to, and it basically set my expectations for him becoming one of my favorite artists. He's able to experiment even better on this project with unique ideas and versatile production. It's not entirely rap, but that doesn't matter. Some of his more better material. Dark Times. Album of the year was pretty hard to choose, but Vince Staples reaches right into the top 3. This year has been a really substantial year for the West Coast, and not only reliving the magic, but being more open on a lot of people's journey. The album is not really that long, but it's quality over quantity, and Vince is able to make it entertaining as possible. The New Sound. While the sound is nothing new, this is the most shocking I have ever been with an album. Taking inspiration from Latin jazz, the sound composition is off the charts. Sounds like an epic movie soundtrack. It's such an amazing time where there's not a single second wasted. And now, out of all the albums I've listened to in 2024, there's one album that managed to surpass everything, and that album is Chromacopia. Everything that I wanted for a new Tyler album. I was shocked when he announced this considering his 2-year release window, but here we are. It's by far his most vulnerable project yet, with topics about marriage, adulthood, and even his father. I have never been this excited for a ride like this. It has without a doubt some of his best material to date. And there you have it. This video has been in the making for a while due to how many projects were included. And that's just a basic summary of this year. I've been more involved in the music scene so much that cemented itself as an absolutely amazing year for music. I'm hoping 2025 will be the same thing, or at the very least, be entertaining. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to see future videos. I'm trying to do something with my channel due to no longer being involved with Geometry Dash, but I wanted to provide more content with stuff I really enjoy. But until then, see you next time.